Be me. Name is Jessica. 32, just got promoted to HR director. At a manufacturing company that makes industrial equipment. Company has 180 employees, mostly men because it's factory work. About 150 men and 30 women across production, engineering, and admin. Been working here for 4 years, started as HR coordinator. Always felt like this place needed serious culture transformation. Male-dominated industry, old-school mentality, resistant to change. My promotion to director felt like finally having the power to fix things. CEO is Robert. He's 58, founded the company 25 years ago. Very hands-off with HR, told me he trusts my expertise. Said I should do whatever I think is necessary. That was exactly the green light I needed. Spent my first 2 weeks as director researching best practices. Read everything about gender equity in manufacturing. Followed progressive HR leaders on social media. Attended webinars about dismantling workplace patriarchy. Developed what I called the Inclusive Operations Initiative. Comprehensive framework to transform how work gets done here. Presented it to Robert in his office. He barely glanced at the document. Sounds good, Jessica, you know this stuff better than I do. Just make sure production doesn't get disrupted. I assured him everything would run smoothly. Called a mandatory all-employee meeting for Friday afternoon. Everyone had to attend. Production line shut down for 2 hours. Cost the company money, but this was important. People filed into the main warehouse area, looking confused. Set up a projector and screen, had my presentation ready. Stood in front of 180 employees feeling powerful. This was my moment to create real lasting change. Started by talking about our commitment to workplace equity. How we're going to be industry leaders in inclusive practices. Then unveiled the Inclusive Operations Initiative. Initiative 1, Gender Balance Shift Assignments. Women will be rotated into all production roles, including heavy machinery, welding, and assembly. Initiative 2, Mandatory Mentorship Pairings. Each male supervisor must mentor at least one female employee, with monthly progress reports submitted to me. Initiative 3, Reimagined Communication Standards. Men must use collaborative language, avoid directive speech. Ask questions instead of giving orders. Initiative 4, Equity Pause Protocol. Anytime a woman feels unheard, anyone can call an equity pause. Work stops until the concern is addressed. Initiative 5, Performance Reviews now include inclusion metrics. How well employees support underrepresented colleagues. I looked around expecting the women to look grateful. Instead saw a lot of worried faces on everyone. One of the production managers, Tom, raised his hand. Jessica, the heavy machinery requires certification and training. We can't just rotate people in without proper qualifications. That's why we'll provide accelerated training, I said. Can't let credential requirements become barriers to opportunity. Another supervisor, Mike, spoke up. The collaborative language thing. How does that work on a production line? When I need someone to stop a machine for safety, I need to be direct. You can still be direct, just more inclusive about it. Ask them to stop instead of telling them. Mike looked skeptical, but didn't argue further. One of the women, Linda, raised her hand. She works in quality control, been here for 12 years. Jessica, I don't want to work on the production line. I like my job in QC, can I opt out? This initiative is about expanding opportunities. You'll try production rotation for at least 3 months. She sat back down looking upset. Meeting ended, and I sent detailed implementation emails. Everything starts Monday, no exceptions. First week under the new initiative was immediate chaos. The gender balance shift assignments created major problems. 5 women got assigned to welding and heavy assembly. Only 2 had any interest or physical capability for that work. One was Linda from QC, who explicitly said she didn't want it. She came to my office Monday morning. Jessica, I've been in QC for 12 years by choice. I don't want to learn welding, I'm good at what I do. This is about growth opportunities, Linda. I don't want this opportunity, she said firmly. We went back and forth, but I held firm. The initiative applies to everyone. She left my office clearly angry. Meanwhile, on the production floor, things were breaking down. The communication standards were causing safety issues. Tom needed to stop a machine during a malfunction. Instead of yelling stop like normal, he had to say, "Could you please consider stopping the machine?" By the time the operator processed the request, the machine had jammed and needed repairs. Cost us 3 hours of production time. Tom came to my office frustrated. "Jessica, I can't ask nicely during emergencies. I need to give direct orders for safety. You need to find a way to be both direct and inclusive." That's the whole point of the initiative. The mandatory mentorship pairings weren't working either. I assigned each male supervisor to mentor women. Required monthly reports on their progress. First reports came in, and they were all basically identical. Generic statements about having conversations. No specific details, no real engagement. Just checking boxes to comply with my requirement. Called a meeting with all the supervisors. 8 men sitting around the conference table. Told them their reports were inadequate. I need to see genuine mentorship, real development. Tom spoke up, "Jessica, we're doing what we can. But most of these women don't want mentorship from us. They have their own career paths already." "That's not the feedback I'm getting," I lied. Actually, that was exactly the feedback, but I ignored it. Mike added, "You've got me mentoring Sarah in accounting. I run production, I don't know anything about accounting. How am I supposed to mentor her? It's about male leaders investing in women's growth. The specific field doesn't matter." They all exchanged looks, but didn't push back further. Week 2, and the equity pause protocol created a disaster. Production line had to stop 4 times in one day. First pause was legitimate. Woman felt her safety concern was dismissed. We addressed it, good use of the protocol. Second pause was because someone didn't like how they were scheduled. Third pause was about the temperature in the break room. Fourth pause was basically someone having a bad day. Each pause cost 30 minutes of production time. Robert called me to his office Tuesday afternoon. "Jessica, we're behind on orders because of these production stoppages. What's going on?" I explained the equity pause protocol, how it empowers employees to speak up. He listened, then said, "We're a manufacturing company. We have deadlines and contracts. We can't stop production 4 times a day. These are growing pains," I assured him. "Once people adjust, it'll stabilize." He didn't look convinced, but let me continue. Week 3, and the performance review metrics caused problems. I evaluated all supervisors on their inclusion scores. Tom got marked down because his mentee reported limited engagement, even though she'd told me privately she didn't want mentorship. Mike got marked down because his team communication was still too directive according to anonymous feedback. Both came to my office upset about their reviews. Tom said this is affecting my bonus and promotion track. Over metrics that have nothing to do with my actual job. Your actual job includes creating inclusive culture, I said. My actual job is running production safely and efficiently, which I'm doing despite these new barriers. Mike agreed. I've been here 15 years with perfect reviews. Now I'm marked down for not using collaborative enough language. On a factory floor where clear communication prevents injuries. I held firm, these metrics are here to stay. They left looking defeated. Month 2, and everything was falling apart. Production output down 35% from 2 months ago. Quality control issues increasing. Safety incidents up slightly. Employee satisfaction at an all-time low. Client complaints about late deliveries. 2 of our best engineers quit. Both cited the new policies as reason for leaving. One was a woman who didn't want forced production rotation. The other was a man tired of equity pauses, stopping his projects. Robert called an emergency leadership meeting. All department heads plus me. The numbers were on the screen, all red. Revenue down, costs up, efficiency tanking. Robert looked at me. "Jessica, your initiative started 8 weeks ago. Every metric has gotten worse since then. What's your plan to fix this?" I started explaining about adjustment periods. How meaningful transformation requires temporary disruption. He cut me off. 2 months isn't temporary. We're losing money, losing people, losing clients. The other department heads were nodding. One spoke up, the communication standards don't work in manufacturing. We need direct, clear instructions for safety. Another added, the equity pauses are being abused. People are using them to avoid work or air personal grievances. Tom said, the forced rotation is putting people in roles they don't want and aren't qualified for, creating safety risks. I felt attacked from all sides. Tried to defend the initiative, but my arguments sounded hollow. Robert ended the meeting. Jessica, you have 1 week to show improvement. Or, I'm suspending this initiative. I left feeling shaken, but still convinced I was right. Called a meeting with just the women employees. All 30 of them gathered after shift ended. I wanted their support, their validation. Started by explaining that leadership was pushing back. Asked them to share how the initiative was helping them. Long, uncomfortable silence. Finally, Linda spoke up. Jessica, I appreciate what you're trying to do, but you forced me out of QC where I was happy. Put me in welding where I have no interest. I'm counting days until I can transfer back. Another woman, Maria, agreed. The mentorship program paired me with someone who knows nothing about my work. We spend an hour a month in awkward conversations. It's not helping my career, it's wasting both our time. Sarah from accounting said the equity pause is being misused. Someone called one yesterday because they didn't like my report. We sat there for 45 minutes over nothing. One by one, the women shared how the initiative hurt them, made their jobs harder, created resentment from male coworkers, put them in uncomfortable positions. Only 3 women said anything positive, and even they admitted the execution was flawed. I sat there feeling my entire worldview cracking. These were the women I was trying to help, and they were rejecting my help. The meeting ended, and I went home in shock. Spent the whole night questioning everything. All my research, all my training, all my certainty. Next morning, I pulled all the data objectively. Employee satisfaction surveys broken down by gender. Women's satisfaction had dropped 40% since the initiative. Men's dropped 60%. Production efficiency down across all shifts. Safety incidents up 15%. Client satisfaction declining steadily. 2 major contracts at risk due to delivery delays. The numbers didn't lie. My initiative was failing everyone. Called Robert and asked for a meeting. Walked into his office feeling defeated. Robert, I need to suspend the Inclusive Operations Initiative. He looked surprised. What changed your mind? I talked to the women on our team. They don't want what I've been forcing on them. And the data shows we're hurting the company. He nodded slowly. Jessica, I want to say something and I need you to hear it. Go ahead, I said. You're young, passionate, educated. You have good intentions and genuine commitment to equity. But you try to apply tech industry solutions to manufacturing. This isn't a startup, it's a factory. Different context requires different approaches. I know, I said quietly. He continued, the women here aren't oppressed. They're professionals who chose these careers. Some want traditional roles, some want production work. Your job is to support their choices, not decide what choices they should make. That hit hard because he was right. I'd assumed I knew better than them, what they needed, what they wanted, without ever actually asking. That afternoon, I sent company-wide email, suspending the Inclusive Operations Initiative effective immediately, returning to previous work assignments and communication standards, keeping equity pause for genuine safety or discrimination concerns, but not for general complaints, removing inclusion metrics from performance reviews. The response was immediate relief across the company. People thanking me for listening. Even some of the women I thought would be disappointed. Linda came to my office. Thank you, she said. I can go back to QC now, she asked. Yes, effective tomorrow. She actually hugged me. Over the next month, everything stabilized. Production returned to normal levels. Safety incidents back down. Employee satisfaction recovering. The two engineers who quit, I called them. Asked if they'd consider returning. Both said they'd think about it. One eventually came back. 3 months later, we'd recovered most of our losses. Robert called me into his office. Jessica, you handled that well. Admitting the initiative failed and changing course. That takes courage most people don't have. I appreciated that, but felt like I'd failed. He continued, you didn't fail. You learned there's a difference. Now you know that equity isn't about forcing change. It's about removing real barriers when they exist. I spent the next 6 months doing HR completely differently. Actually talked to employees about what they needed. Found that some women did want production training. Set up voluntary programs for them. Discovered actual bias incidents and addressed them individually. Not through blanket policies, but specific interventions. Created mentorship program where people chose their mentors. Based on actual career goals and compatibility. It worked better than my forced pairings. 1 year after suspending the initiative, our diversity metrics were actually better. More women in leadership roles. Higher satisfaction scores across genders. Better retention numbers. All without forced rotation or mandatory protocols. Just by removing actual barriers and supporting real choices. I got invited to speak at an HR conference about lessons learned from failed initiatives. Stood on stage and told the whole story. How I implemented comprehensive changes nobody wanted. How it hurt the people I meant to help. How I had to suspend everything and start over. Expected judgment from the audience. Instead got a standing ovation. Afterward, dozens of HR professionals approached me. Said they almost made the same mistakes. That my honesty helped them avoid disasters. One woman said, everyone talks about their successes. Nobody admits their failures. Thank you for being real. 6 months later, I'm training a new HR coordinator. She's 24, fresh from grad school, full of ideas. Tells me about all these frameworks she wants to implement. I listen, then share my story. Watch her face change as she realizes. Good intentions don't equal good outcomes. She asks, so we shouldn't try to improve things. No, I say, we should improve real problems. But first we have to ask if the problems exist. And whether our solutions actually help. She takes notes, looks thoughtful. 2 years after the initiative failure. Our company is thriving. Best retention rates in our industry. 3 women in senior leadership, including one who came up through production. Through voluntary training, not forced rotation. Employee satisfaction consistently high. Robert calls me to his office. Jessica, I want you to know something. Your initiative 2 years ago, that failure, made you a better HR director. You learned to listen before acting. To support instead of impose. To work with people instead of on them. That's worth more than if it had succeeded. I thank him, tell him I learned the hard way. He smiles, the best lessons usually are. That evening I'm updating my LinkedIn. Remove all posts about the Inclusive Operations Initiative. Write a new post about learning from failure. About how equity means supporting real choices. Not imposing what you think people should want. Get hundreds of responses, mostly from women. Thanking me for being honest. For admitting when inclusion efforts miss the mark. For prioritizing actual outcomes over ideology. One message stands out. From Linda, my QC specialist. Says she respected me more for suspending the initiative than if I'd stubbornly kept it going. That I proved I cared about employees. More than being right. I saved that message. Keep it for days when I doubt myself. Reminder that leadership is about serving people. Not proving your theories correct. Anyway, that's my story. About how I changed how men work. And watched the company nearly fall apart. Not because men resisted change. But because my changes made work impossible. For everyone, especially the women. I learned that HR isn't about implementing frameworks. It's about understanding people. Supporting their actual needs. And admitting when you're wrong. Before you destroy everything trying to be right.